What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben Riccardi from Ironclad Restoration Marketing, and I'm the author of the No BS Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. Now, the Restoration Rundown is your source for everything related to managing and owning your restoration business, from bringing on special guests and sharing success stories to taking deep dives with our team here at Ironclad Restoration Marketing into all of the online channels that you need to be tapping into to get visibility for your restoration business and get more leads from the internet. We've got you covered. So buckle up and get ready for the rundown. Oh yeah, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Restoration Rundown Podcast. I know it's been a while. I know you guys have been waiting patiently for brand new episodes and really cool guests, and I've been making you wait on purpose. Well, not really. We moved offices, as I explained in an older episode, and then we got nailed with some hurricanes and tornadoes down here in South Florida. But I'm super excited for today's episode and all of our episodes that are going to be coming up after this. We've got some amazing guests. I'm going to be bringing on team members from Ironclad Restoration Marketing to help you with the things you're struggling with when it comes to marketing your restoration business, whether it's SEO, Google Business Profile Management, running Google Ads, getting set up for LSA, getting reviews. We're going to get you covered. But I specifically chose today to re-kick off our series, the Restoration Rundown Podcast, with one of the most exciting guests that we've had on here, one of the most interesting guests anyways, a seasoned vet in the restoration industry, over 20 years. As you know, I love bringing on entrepreneurs onto this and kind of learning their struggles, learning their successes, all in a means to be able to teach everybody out there maybe some things to avoid when it comes to building their business, whether it's restoration niche or you're in another industry and you just happen to love my voice and want to listen to me. The other thing that we want to do here is we want to maybe reaffirm some of the things you might be doing right. I know part of the entrepreneurial journey is a long, drawn-out marathon versus a sprint. Sometimes you get lucky and get the sprint, get some quick wins, but generally it's a marathon. So sometimes it's nice to be able to reaffirm some of the things you're doing right. So the gentleman we're going to be bringing on today is, like I mentioned, a seasoned vet in the restoration industry, but not only that, he is more seasoned as an entrepreneur. This gentleman has built and sold 12 different businesses spanning across a lot of different industries, but mostly in the service-based world. You may know him. You probably should if you don't already. I want to introduce to you today Rocky Hensley from Tom Plumber, formerly of Icon Restoration, right?
Icon Property Rescue, baby. What's up, Ben? How are you, man? Good to see you.
It's good, man. And this show, we're live. And I'm going to put a disclaimer at the end of this because I'm so excited. I'm probably going to let out a couple cuss words, so don't worry. It's fine. I got a little explicit warning on the front of these episodes. But, the funny thing is on the show notes here, when we sent these in like a month ago, when we were planning on recording this episode, we got to know each other a little bit. You'd built from the ground up and sold 11 businesses. And I just found out just now that you've actually recently made that 12. So I want to have a huge congratulations. It sounds like you just got done a sale of Icon.
Icon Property Rescue. I honestly, it was an accidental sale. I didn't mean to sell it, Ben. I swear to you, I love the restoration business. I was in it 20 years. And if you want, I'll start by telling you how the hell you sell a business by accident if you want,
Let's pin that because I love to leave a quick cliffhanger. And before we get too deep into it, because I know you and I are going to go, this is going to be a long episode, everybody. So if you're in a long road trip, this is going to be the one for you. If not, look out for the teasers and the clips that come up here. But Rocky, for everybody out there that doesn't know you, they're not familiar with the Tom brand, which you must be living under a rock right now if you're not. Tom is just burst onto the scene. I mean, I can't believe how quickly you've grown it. Kudos to you. And we're going to get into that as well because I think the background on how you built that brand is incredible and should be a lesson for everybody out there, especially the curmudgeon guys that are sticking with their logo they made on clip art in like 1998 and, they're not doing the right thing. But give us a little bit of a background on who you are and really kind of lead me up to how you got to this point in your life, selling all these businesses and building all these great businesses.
Okay, I'll give you the elevator clip, but I was somebody who was, at one point in time homeless, literally for 10 days, eating out of garbage cans, living in an alley. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me in a sense, because it taught me to only depend on me. Okay. But I also didn't finish high school, got my GED, got a little bit of college, realized it wasn't for me. So, I've always kind of been a money motivated guy in a sense, a success motivated, driven person. I grew up on a horse farm and just always loved hard work, always loved people, always loved. So I knew that I was never going to climb a corporate ladder. P&G was not looking at me. Amazon wasn't looking at me. I don't even know if Amazon existed back then, but you get the point. So I knew I was going to have to make it on my own. So when I dropped out of college for the third time, I started a recycling business. And we went behind Walmart picking up cardboard on Saturdays, and rented Hertz, one of those big 24-foot vans, dropping it off. And our first day we made $1,300 on a Saturday, me and my buddy, and we split it. And 5 years later, we were running about a $7 million paper recycling company. And he did some things, caught us hand in a cookie jar, and we ended up selling it because we went from best friends to bitter enemies at that point. And I got a check, and I was like, that was the coolest thing in the world, man. I'm 28 years old, and I get a check with 7 figures. And so I'm like, let's do this again. And then, just got better and better at it and created more systems. I always had mentors. So I would always listen to mentors, and they helped build me. And I realized, what you do for a living, man, it's you can screw everything up, but if the phone's not ringing, it's over, just like in restoration. Your water tech can screw something up. Your construction guy can screw something up. Your person not answering the phone can screw something up. But if the phone ain't ringing, you're dead. Everything else is fixable. So I picked up on that early, man, and just realized that no matter what it was, if you had a system and you had the phone ringing and you were doing some, you're marketing your ass off and selling your ass off, you can build something pretty special. And I built 12 times. I built something special enough for somebody to buy. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, came from nothing. But the funny thing is, Ben, and you know this, most of my restoration brothers all have a similar story. They all have, in the restoration business, because I always call it the land of misfit toys, because nobody else wanted us, and that's why I love the restoration business so much. It's because it's just people like me that just, trying to make as much money as they can and feed their family and take care of things, but grow a business and love and care about their employees and their customers and want to make people's lives better. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what the restoration business is. It's pretty damn cool, if you ask me. So, yeah.
Oh, we got a little bit of an echo. Hear that on your side?
I lost you. I can't hear you.
How about now? How's that? It wouldn't be a kickoff episode if I didn't have technical difficulties. It's been a minute.
You can chop and block,
Yeah, we don't edit anything. That's the thing. I just interrupt now. Yeah, we'll go. So a couple of things you mentioned. I know you talk about the restoration brothers understand this, but really it's an entrepreneur, mentality. And I think one of the things that I think you nailed, and listen, we're talking to you. You're obviously a really major success story. All of us are either on that journey, or we just didn't have the balls to continue pushing through those hard times, or even the wherewithal just to take that leap in the first place. But I think one of the things that maybe helped you right away is it sounds like you realized that there is a big margin for error when you're building a business, because that's just the reality of it. Unless you've got this, you're blessed with all of these mentors and you're watching guys like you and you're listening to people like me about how to, what to do and kind of how to navigate problems. You understand that sales come first and the phone needs to be ringing, because sales are going to solve a lot of those problems, or at least cover them up while you're building your systems, right?
Yep. And look, you can have the best system in the world, the best people in the world. You're still tweaking things. You're still fixing things. I don't care who you are. You're always fixing something. You're always making it better. And we always just kind of stayed with 3 key things. And that was always our driver moving forward. And really 4 if you throw in very easy, simple KPIs. Yeah. So that's how we built it. And time again, whether it's widgets and a couple of things that people want to know is some of the businesses that I built and sold were in the restoration industry. And I'll give you a couple of quick examples. We were the 3rd, 4th, and 5th franchisee for 1-800 Packouts. And we had Columbus, Louisville, and Cincinnati, and we built it up to about $7 million. And sold it off to one of my friendly competitors here in town, who was a partner in it. He bought it out, and then we built and sold a 1859 board up, and then we went a step further and bought the 1877 board up number, and went toe to toe with 1-800 board up, and ended up selling that piece off too. So I've done a few things in the restoration business to build and sell. But then I've had solar, I've had the recycling company, I've had a company called Mobile Oil where we did instant oil changes. I've done a big hit for me was I built sportsbookandpoker.com back in the early 2000s. That's one I wish I still had. Sold it a little too early, but that's, we all, like you said, we all learn, make mistakes, and move it forward. So it's just been a virtual plethora of different businesses. But the one that I've kept and done the longest was Icon Property Rescue, because I love the chaos of the restoration business.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. It just kind of suited my personality, and was really never planning on selling it, because it just went so hand in hand with the one Tom Plumber brand, and when you're supplying your own leads, and you got digital marketing and plumbing calls coming in, and you're making 23% net, usually you won't get rid of something like that. So it worked out pretty well for a long time.
Yeah, and I guess it wasn't intentional.
Where do you want to go from here?
Well, no, I
was
talk
not
a little bit
intentional.
about.
You want me to tell them real quick?
Yeah, I think you have to. I'm really want to hear about how you accidentally sold this business before we get into how you built it up to make it to where you can accidentally sell something. Because one thing that we talk about a lot is having an exit strategy, and I think a lot of people miss this mark when they're building these businesses and they're working in the restoration industry. That I think the numbers like 90%. Most people are like, I'm going to hand this off to one of my kids one day, or maybe I'll sell it, or they really don't have an exit strategy. And when they hear things like, 80% of families don't get the business handed down to them, they want nothing to do with it. You're like, all right, well, now it's time to implement some systems. Now we've got to really do a gut check and get these going. So tell me how you accidentally sold Icon Property Rescue.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, I'll tell you the story of Icon Property Rescue, and I'll do it. I'll give you the quick elevator version. But we've been 3 companies. We started as a plumber-driven business, where we would go out and we'd solicit plumbers. And I've always been a profit-first guy. And prior to that, I built and sold a $110 million company that I sold in 2004. So I wasn't, I was 38 years old, and for the most part, never had to really worry about money. Couldn't buy a plane or anything like that, but it, set me up for the rest of my life. So I got into the chaos business of restoration, which absolutely I loved it, but I wanted to make $1 million. And I always say taxable, because people, if you're filing taxes on $1 million, people can't argue it. You can always pull the this report and that report, but it was taxable. And at that point in time, when you're mostly just doing water damage, it was about $3.5 to $4 million. And we were clicking away pretty good at that. Well, Roto-Rooter happens to be based in my backyard. They're in Cincinnati. Their corporate office is in Cincinnati, and they were one of my biggest customers. And those SOBs decided to get into the restoration business, as everybody knows. So they went from $1 million client of mine to a competitor. All right. And then other people joined them. So my business model had to change. Well, I found about these amazing things called TPAs, where all you have to do is sign up for them, and the insurance companies just throw shit on your lap, and it's the most wonderful thing in the world if you hear, Crawford Connection and Alacrity and all these people tell you how amazing it'll be back in 2013, give or take. And so we went from that into the TPA world, where we built it up to about $7 million, the restoration piece. And we went from making $1 million at $3.5 to $4 million to 2018. We made a $225,000 profit. So we were almost twice the size and making 1/4 of the profit. Well, along the way, I realized that that's not a winning proposition. Okay. God love the insurance companies. They're always on your side. They always want to help you out. But in this case, it didn't work out that way. Okay. So we decided, I went out and bought the 1877 phone number, 1877 Plumber phone number, and branded the one Tom Plumber. The name is the phone number. Well, we went live we decided, what I did, you'll love this, Ben. I literally huddled everybody up, drew a line, and I said, anything that's 60% gross, we put on top of the line. Anything that's under 60% gross, we put over the line and under the line. Everything above the line, we do. Everything below the line, we no longer do. So as of January 1st, the year of our Lord 2019, we went strictly based on what you do, and that's the digital piece, and commercial water damage based on the one Tom Plumber going out and marketing it and bringing that business into our restoration company. Okay, so within that year, like I said, we did about $750,000 in total water damage in 2019. Last year, we did a little over $5 million, and we did about $7.5 million total. And I filed taxes on $1.85 million. And the only reason I didn't hit my $2 million mark, which was my goal, is because I took $150,000 and passed it out to my employees as bonuses. So that's how much it changed the industry. And so the reason that I sold it by accident was because my buddy Dave Sweet, do you know the Chuck DeWalt Drying Academy?
Yes.
Okay. Well, he's kind of Chuck and Dave are partners in that. Dave Sweet owned a $30 million company plus in Indianapolis, but he does the multi-million-dollar drying equipment. He's just a super nice guy, but a super smart businessman. And he was my mentor. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, dude, look, now that you got all this time on your hands since you sold your business, because he had sold out to a private equity firm, and he doesn't have that much time on his hand. It was a total joke, and was kind of messing with him. But I was like, hey, can you grab if I send you my financials, will you look at them? Tell me if there's any leaky buckets. Tell me if there's some verticals I'm missing. Just give me, I'm not looking at, I never really wanted to be more than 10 million because then you start hiring HR departments and things like that. Okay. But I'd really like to see if I can be more profitable. He calls me back and he goes, dude, have you ever thought about selling? And I was like, dude, I'm like everybody else, man. I get a call a week, I'm not a for sale company. And he goes, you should really think about selling. And I said, you'd never pay me what I wanted. And he goes, well, what do you want? And I said, I want a 7 times multiple. I want to keep all the AR. And I want to be done. I don't want to be, I've sold enough businesses to know that whatever time you give someone when you sell, you basically an indentured servant, and he just laughed at me and he goes, I didn't even get a 7 multiple, and I was like, well, that's why I, know you're not going to buy it. So 2 weeks later, he calls me back and he goes, hey, I can get you the 7 multiple, because he bought back in and he became a minority owner of that brand, where they're trying to buy 10 different companies, make it bigger and sell to a bigger private equity company. And I was like, you serious? I mean, so we started talking, and I had to get a little creative on the AR and stuff like that. But 2.5 months later, we finished all the due diligence on a Thursday, and he said, we're closing tomorrow at 11. And I was like, well, I haven't told my employees, I've only told 2 of them. I don't, and now we closed it that quick, and it was a rear view mirror issue. And we've been a debt-free company, for whenever. So, I got the check and I negotiated that, I'll give them 24 hours from the time we closed. But we were so systems driven that really I would have been in the way anyway, So we call it from the womb to the tomb, from the time the phone rings until we shake the customer's hands. We're extremely systems driven in everything that we do, including the restoration business. So we were 80% commercial, 20% residential, and we got just as many residential calls. It's about 50-50 as far as number of calls. It's just the great thing about commercial business is, one, there's no insurance companies unless it's $100,000 plus, because the deductibles are so high. And the jobs are so big. I mean, we're averaging $27,000 a job on the commercial side, and about 4,800, I think, on the residential side. So about half our calls were residential, commercial split, but 80% of our dollars were commercial. So, and we've got, and it happened September 20th of this year. And, I was out, I gave them 24 hours. Now, if they call me and ask me questions and stuff like that, I certainly help them and stuff, but it was set up so well. I mean, I'd leave for 2 months, in the winter and come back, and literally people are like, don't you want to leave again?
Yeah.
I was more in their way, and, we're very KPI driven in the sense that we give people like 3 KPIs, and then we hire division leaders and we let them lead and go, and we meet them once a month. And these are the KPIs they have to manage their departments against, and how they do that is on them. And I can give you some examples if you want on the KPIs, or if you want to circle back on that later, we can do that.
Yeah, I want to circle back, but before we get too far away, one of the things that, we preach here, and I've written articles and I've done episodes on this, is having a systems-based mindset when it comes to running any type of business, really anything in your life. If you don't have a system, you don't make it a habit, you're bound to fail, or at least take longer to get there. Can you speak to your systems a little bit? And I think one of the things I've heard talking to you before and just having these conversations is, implementing. First of all, I think it's a challenge to implement systems in the first place, but it's really nice to be able to rinse and repeat when you have a process for every single thing. But I think where a lot of entrepreneurs fail, one, not creating systems, having a goal is like watching a scoreboard in the game and not really practicing. But two, I think where a lot of people fail is they don't have any accountability when people work outside those systems. And a great example would be, you've got a guy that's worked for you for 15 years. He's one of the best water techs you've ever had in your life. You can send him anywhere. A crew, he could do the work of a crew of 3, does it on his own, but they fall out of line there. And I think one of the great things you did and what accelerated your success in implementing these systems is the accountability systems you had, which I think is awesome. And I'll let you explain a little bit about, one, I want to learn about, how important and drive that home those systems are, but two, how do you hold people accountable when you do implement them in your business?
Okay. Well, a great mentor once told me, and if you guys don't hear anything else that we say in this podcast, listen to this. Okay. He told me there's 2 reasons you have a problem in your company, and 2 reasons only. 1, you don't have a system. 2, more importantly, you're not holding people accountable to your system. Okay. If you're not holding people accountable to your system, what's the point of having a system? And everybody has those people where you're like, oh, I can't dispense with this guy. He's not doing exactly what I want him to ask, but he's doing good enough. And I always say good enough works for the competitors. Okay. Yeah. If they're not working your system exactly the way you want them to do it, they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't belong there. Okay. And when I'll get back to my systems a little bit, but we have 3, we literally run our businesses with 3 simple philosophies. Okay. And I really mean this. In every meeting we talk about this. First and foremost is culture. Okay. And I think culture is an overused word, but it's the most important thing. And what I mean by that, and these are just my philosophies. Okay. Culture is not standing around holding hands and singing. Okay. Culture for us is hustle. Do you have a hustle culture? Do you have an emergency culture? Do you have a T's and I's culture? Do you have a my brother's keeper culture? Do you have a communication culture? Okay. Those are all really important things. So if you have all those things, everybody seems to get along really well, because you got a bunch of hustlers, you got a bunch of people who are T's and I's and doing their job and helping each other. And those type of people, I call them the 20 percenters. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit, but I promise to bring it back. Okay. And everybody's like 20 percenters. Absolutely. 80% of all work gets done by 20% of the workforce. Okay. So you want the 20 percenters. Okay. That's who you have. Now, here's the thing. Pay them 20% more than what they could, if they could leave and go somewhere else. Okay. Yep. Because if you do the math, those people do twice what anybody else does. So all you're doing is paying them 20% more and you get twice the work. And if you're willing to settle for good, that's all you're going to be. But if you're willing to rotate people out that are good, and that are going to bring in that culture. Those are the people that stay after a party and help you clean up. Those are the people that when someone passes away, they don't go, call me if you need anything. You know, I'm here for you. They go do shit. They take care of you. They bring you dinner. They think up and above. They think outside the box. They get shit done. And they come in a great mood every day, even when shit's hitting the fan. You know, that's what 20%ers do. They're rock stars, whatever you want to call them. Okay. I'm a math guy, so I call them 20%ers. Other people call them rock stars. But if you're paying 20% more than market, you can get a rock star and keep a rock star, especially if you have those cultures, the hustle culture, and my brother's keeper. And then communication is key. You got to have that culture. That's first and foremost. Okay. Then it's accountability to the system. Okay. If people are not doing your system the way you want them to do it, it's like any relationship. Okay. If you're getting you're giving them everything you promised, which is, the paycheck's never going to bounce. You're going to give them the best work environment you possibly can, the best tools to do it in, so on and so forth. You've committed to these things to the people that you bring in, but they're not keeping their end of the deal. What relationship is ever going to last long term? Okay. So if you're keeping your side, hold them accountable to keep their end of the deal. And if they won't, rotate them out because you're paying 20% more than anyone else. Okay. It's that simple. I don't want to, I can't overcomplicate it, but people have to work your system. Now, here's the thing. Always be making it better. That's the communication part. Just because you have a system doesn't mean it's the best it can be. I used to travel around, and I recommend anybody to do this. And somebody out there listening, I guarantee you've been to my place or I've been to yours, because twice a year I would go to other restoration companies and give up a day. They would give up a day, show me everything they're doing, open their books. I did Pedro's out in California, which is a $12 million water company. I did Dave Ferhitas in New Jersey, which is Power Dry, Spartan Restoration in Virginia. Every year I would go until COVID. I would tour 2 places. They would give up, and then I would give up my day and bring them into art and show them what we're doing. So most of what you're seeing in restoration, if you came here and visit, is stuff I've learned from other people. I highly recommend that. And here's the thing: you're going to take away. Sorry, I'm getting a little off that. I promise.
No, this is good stuff, because it's all what I've been harping on.
You're going to find 15 things that you want to do. Pick the 2 or 3 that are most important and throw everything else away, because you're not going to get back to it. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you come, every time I came back and I said, I'm going to do all these things, I never did any of it. But every time I said, we highlighted, we met with the team and said, pick 2, maybe 3 things that we want to implement that are great ideas. And we threw everything else away. Okay. Because we didn't worry about it. If we could, we circled back, but we never did. So we picked those 2 things and we implement them. And then that's a goal that's achievable. If you want to implement 15 new things in your company, it's not achievable. It's pointless to do. Why even talk about it? Okay. And then the reason I know that is because I failed miserably trying to do that more often than I care to admit on this podcast. Okay. And the third thing is profit. You got to have profit. But here's the thing. I always talked about it in every meeting, divisionally. I'll give you a great example. The rebuild side, we did about $1 million a year up, and we only did drywall, paint, and trim for commercial because we didn't want to do insurance work. Okay, but so we had 3 KPIs. We had the top dollar, which was $1 million a year, so we broke it down by quarters. The third is we wanted to make a 60% gross, and 3 is customer service. That's it. That's what my division leader was evaluated by every single month, and mostly quarterly. Okay. And then at the end, after we were done evaluating him, seeing how he's doing, seeing if he was off course, going course, pat on the back, high five, what can we fix? We'd always in those meetings, and they were literally half an hour, 45 minutes, with what can we continue to do to make you better? What do you need? Is it a tool? Is it equipment? Do you need the phone to ring more? What is it that you need from us? And then third, or last, is like, is there a way that we can be more profitable? We'd always ask that question. And sometimes it was yes, but there were so many dependent things like gas prices, this, that, the other, but we always talked about profitability last. The reason we talked about profitability last is because when you walked out of the office, whoever that was the last thing on their mind. Okay. Because we want them to understand that every single thing that we do at the end of the day and why we put all these things in place is because we need to make profit. If we don't have profit, I can't pay 20% more. I can't give them the best equipment. I can't give them the best trucks. I can't, I can't pass out $150,000 at Christmas to all the employees if we don't have profit. So I never was afraid to talk about profit and how much profit we made in there. But I always talk about gross, not net. Okay. Yep. Like I said, they had to make a 60% gross profit. The rest of it is up to me to do. I never held them accountable for how much my overhead was, for tires, trucks, insurance, things like that. They're only accountable for their piece and what they control. So it was that simple. But and the systems is something we talk about every month, is how their system was working. How can we make their systems better? And our piece during those meetings was, are they holding their subordinates, their team members, accountable completely 100% to the system? Okay. And is there a way to make the system better? So we just kept it that simple. And the communication piece, but you got to deliver. You can't ask them to deliver if you're not delivering, as far as an owner, you've got to be there and you got to deliver. So we ran each department as though it was independent business within a business, all the way down to the trucks. We would talk to, I just use reconstruction again. We call it a rebuild because we didn't construct anything. We just rebuild what we tore out from the mold and water side. That's all we did. If somebody wanted to go more, while you're here, we didn't do any of that. We're only here to paint corner to corner. We're doing this, that, and the other. If you need somebody else to do that piece, that wasn't us. We stayed to our strength. And that was in and out, in and out. And we would have our estimates built pretty much by the time the water job or the mold was done. So our guys were going in right after the water on the commercial side. It was a rare day that it would take us more than 2 weeks to get in and get the rebuilds started done, because we probably turned down half of the job because we were extremely particular about it. If we weren't going to make that 60% mark, we didn't do the job. So I got a little long-winded there, but back to the system, and that's how you work the system. Is you keep it simple, you keep it focused, you constantly communicate, and you constantly deliver to your employees, but they have to be delivering it back, or there's no relationship that's going to work long-term if only one side's getting what they want. So you might as well end it. Don't hold those people. You don't need them. Pay 20% more. You can rotate out to, kiss some frogs. It's okay. But I promise you, once you get those people, you're going to keep them. We had, when I sold the business, one of the things that I didn't even know, we had an average of 7.5 years for an employee, and wow, for a 20-year company, which was, I didn't even know that until they told me that, so we didn't lose people. In COVID, everybody was struggling hiring people. We had people. We didn't, we weren't a huge, big growth company. We weren't trying to take on the world. I never wanted to be a $30 million company. I wanted it to be a $2 million in profit company, and 7 to 8 million is what got us there. And that's where I wanted to be. And I even told Dave Sweet that if you run into him, go, hey, did Rocky really tell you he didn't want to be a growth company, or he was not? He'll tell you, yeah, he did. But, but then the thing that they liked about so much of us is that I didn't need to be involved. They could take over the company, come in and buy the company, and it just keeps clicking along. And then, you can ask Dave, but I'm pretty sure there hasn't been speed bump one, because all the systems were already in place, and they liked us so much because we were so commercial driven. That's the hard part. Getting commercial business is the hard part of the restoration business, because, there's so many people out there trying to get commercial, the Belfours of the world, everybody's got salespeople. And that's why One Tom was so monumentally helpful for us. And, like I said, we'll put a pin in that one and I'll circle back, but it's all about systems, people. And it's all about holding people accountable. Now, can I tell you this one thing, Ben, too?
Rocky, tell me everything.
All right. Once I realized that some people are rocket boosters. Okay. And that sounds really cool, right? They're rocket boosters, man. But a business, look at it like this. Business is a rocket taken off the ground. Okay. When you first start, it's clunky. There's smoke. There's fire. there's so much smoke, you can't even see where the hell you're going. You just know you got to keep charging forward, right? It's like a rocket taking off. It's shaky. You're scared to death. You don't know if you're going to make it. The shit might blow up, so on and so forth. But if you stay the course, and like you said earlier, if you don't give up, okay, and you keep charging forward, sooner or later you come out of that smoke. You come out of that fire and you start picking up steam and you picking up speed and you keep going and the vibration stops and your momentum's going. But here's the thing. I see most people, if they get stagnant or they fail, it's because they don't shed the rocket boosters out of loyalty. Okay. And what I mean by that is every rocket has these boosters on the side or down low, the one that Elon Musk just caught on that big tower. Okay. What would happen if that quit giving and you kept it? You would stay stagnant or you're going to fall back to earth. Okay. You got to shed the rocket boosters. They're great people. They're good human beings. Stay friends with them. But if they're not taking you forward, if they're not helping you grow and get that momentum and build speed, they're rocket boosters, man. You got to shed them or they're just dead weight. Okay. And if one thing I learned a long time ago, the quicker you shed the rocket boosters, and you do it in a good way, pay them for a month, do whatever you got to do, but get rid of them and get somebody else in there that's going to keep building it, get better talent in. Not everybody is built to go past a certain point. Okay. Like I said, they're great human beings. They're great people. They're just not good for your business. And until you shed those rocket boosters, you're just going to be stagnant. You're going to stay where you are. Infuse yourself with new talent, people that are going to bring new cool ideas to the table, and they're going to take you to the next level. Okay. And that goes with marketing people too. They don't tell you if you're sticking with somebody who just got you here and now every month they just collect, but they're not doing anything for you, get rid of them too. It's not just employees. It's the people it's the support companies too. The rocket boosters, and there's nothing wrong with them, but they're going to hold you and keep you down. So the quicker you realize that too, the quicker you will keep growing and the more profit walks in the door.
Yeah, Rocky, that was great. I know you keep mentioning.
I go preaching there, Ben, but man, I've seen it too many times. Like people I love and care about keep these rocket boosters, and you can't talk them and you get rid of them. It's like, dude, it's okay, but don't complain when you're not growing, when you're not expanding.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not making
You went through a lot, and that's one of the things I appreciate about you. And I knew that this was going to be a really exciting, but not to boost your. I don't want your head to not fit in the camera anymore. But it's very inspiring to listen to you speak that way because one of the things that I try to do with all our guests is I try to, my brain's a marketing brain. I have a heavy civil site construction company. I'm going through all the motions every day as an entrepreneur, building myself up there. But a few of the key things that you spoke about on this journey are your systems, and then having accountability to those systems, right? The goals are where we want to get. The systems are what are going to get you there, and having people accountable to your systems are great. I love the talk about the culture that you're building there because that's what's going to allow your systems to fly off and get rid of the rocket boosters at a certain point when they start to become stagnant. All of that is really great advice, not just for business guys. This is life advice. This is things that you need to be doing in your life. You might be married to somebody, rocket booster.
Don't get me in that rabbit hole. Yeah, definitely friends. I mean, it's great life advice. I never really looked at it like that way. I always looked at it as a business model. But you're absolutely right, man. Some people can hold you down or get jealous of your success.
A lot of things. The cool thing about this podcast, meeting you guys, the guys like you and guys around the world, and is just seeing how many verticals and how many lines I can draw to connect things in our lives. We talk about systems. One of the things I talked about in my article is like, you want to lose 50 pounds, right? And a lot of business owners out there, and we'll put it with a business juxtaposed with somebody trying to lose weight. You're going to go to the gym a week, and then you step on a scale and you're, what the hell, this isn't working. I'm done with it. And you go back to your old ways, your old habits. Or the business owner that tries a new marketing agency and they're not present in the marketing calls. They don't understand their numbers. They have no KPIs. They have no goals. Alternatively, they have no systems in place. It's kind of the same thing. This is a long, drawn out process, but I think one of the things that separate people like you Sometimes people like me is something I'm working on is executing. You talked about visiting other businesses. Again, that goes with something that we talk about in Ironclad Restoration Marketing for our marketing clients is we preach an omnipresent method. Part of that omni-channel approach, outside of the being visible on Google and having a social media presence and all those things, one of the biggest things on an omnipresence model that I built is joining associations and going to trade shows, and only for the sole purpose of meeting other business owners in your space and getting to know them, making friends with them, and learning everything you possibly can from the people that are doing it right, and probably sometimes from the people that aren't doing it right, just to help you avoid that time to success, or that time to get into orbit, if you want to use your rocket launch idiom as far as that goes. So I think that's one of the crucial things is when you're going around, there's going to be hundreds of things that you're going to, typically people go to these trade shows and I'll be speaking and I'm going through 2 hours of, hey, you need to be doing X, Y, Z. And it's like drinking through a fire hose and people are writing everything down. They get back to the office and like, oh my God, I'm never going to get all this shit done. And I think what you spoke on, and one of the things I preach is pick 1 or 2 things that you need to get better at, attack them 100%, get better at everything, move on to the next thing, and then optimize. So we talk about in the digital marketing world, and I know you can appreciate this. It's identify the problem, optimize for that problem, track and measure the success. So this takes months. Can't change a keyword and expect to be number 1 on Google. Track and measure, then optimize, then track and measure, then optimize, and it never ends. It's a turtles all the way down adage that people used to talk about. So I think that was really cool, and I love hearing the similarities between how you were like the ultimate. I know there's been probably a lot of missteps in there, and I want to speak to that a little bit, identify some key problems. But I think it's really cool to finally see all of these things that I've been screaming and hollering about, things that I don't follow myself, so I'm not coming down on anybody, but to see a real success story of how important it is to have a culture, systems, and execution built into your business model.
Yeah, and one thing I'll tell you too, I started 15 businesses. One of which is still going. That's the one Tom Plumber, but I won't tell you about the other 2. Okay, but the funny thing is, those 2 I learned way more in those 2 failures, and they were colossal. Okay, than I learned from the successes, and it's honestly set me up for success because. I've never been afraid to fail. I've never been afraid to try shit. I don't like it. I hate it. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. But, like somebody once said, life is a 12-round boxing match. You dust yourself off, you get back up, and you start swinging again. And trust me, I've had a couple horrible failures. I only like talking about my successes because it makes me look smarter than I really am.
Let me ask you about those failures. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to ask you something about the failures, right? Because I know that most entrepreneurs deal with this, that what do you want to call it, imposter syndrome, or what you get to a point where most guys are living in complete chaos. They don't have systems. They're I call them the amateur plate spinners, in the circus, they had all the plates going on at once. What are a couple things now with the failures? Are these failures when you decided, or just something you decided to walk away from because it wasn't working, or you just and at what point did you realize that? Kind of walk me down. I don't want to get into specifics.
I'll tell you this. After I was telling you about my big success win where, me and my partner split up and stuff, I started another business, a very similar competing business. And I was borrowing money from the bank. I was doing, all kinds of stuff from that, and I got that, 7-figure check. So I thought it was just going to keep going, this, that, and the other. And 3 years later, the market turned, and I wasn't ready for it. And I ended up filing bankruptcy. I was 29 years old. I had 2 kids in diapers. I'd been this huge success. All my peers, my friends, my buddies, my mother-in-law, everybody thought I was this genius businessman. And then one day I'm walking with my wife and 2 kids in diapers, and I was filing on a $1.8 million in debt because I just borrowed way too much money from the bank, and I wasn't ready for the turn. And I'll tell you a good story. It changed my life. Swear to God, man. I felt so small, humiliated. I was selling my TVs, anything I could to pay my mortgage. And I was walking by, and some homeless dude was leaning against a stop sign with a cup out. And I was like, baby, I looked at my wife and I told her, I was like, look, right now, see that dude right now? That guy is a millionaire compared to your husband. And she goes, "What are you talking about? Come on, man. Chop, we'll figure this thing out." And I was like, "No, because he's at least at zero.
Yeah.
I'm $1.8 million under zero. Okay. This dude is a millionaire to me." And, and I was just the lowest point ever, and I just went in and I signed the bankruptcy and I walked back out and I told her, I said, I promise you, we'll never be doing this again. We're never, this guy's my starting point. I'm at least even with this guy right now. Okay. And I never looked back, but what it taught me was is to build off of profit. I rarely, I get a line of credit for this, that, or the other, but didn't really like Icon's a great example. Anybody who's worked for me knows if I need a truck, I write a check for it. Okay.
Yeah.
I just built it up and I did without a lot. Okay. Because I'm sure I probably could have been way more successful, but I never wanted to go through that again and be beholden to the bank. And that way I could make it through any change in the market when I didn't owe the bank a whole lot of money. So I was always growing off of profit. Now I'd take a loan or two for some trucks, maybe here and there, but I built, it was a slow build because if I didn't have the money, I usually didn't buy it. Okay. But it also made me extremely profit focused because I had to make profit in order to buy new equipment, in order to grow the company. And it just set me up for the rest of my life, and the way it was. So that was the one biggest failure of my life from a business standpoint, but I learned so much from that. Now I can get through any market change, 08, we had record years. Everybody else was suffering and struggling. We had record years because we had cash in the bank and we weren't beholden to the banks. They weren't taking our shit like they were everybody else's. Pardon my language. Sorry about that. So it was a huge learning curve for me. And here I am, 58 years old, 30 years later, I built it, sold it. And then when I sold Icon, I got to keep every penny because I didn't have to pay anyone any money. And now Uncle Sam's going to take a bite of my ass. Don't get me wrong there. But after he does his thing, it's mine. I get to keep it. I didn't have to pay a bank anything. So, it was a huge lesson. And I would recommend anybody to build a little slower, build on profit. But once that snowball gets rolling and you get cash in the bank and cash in the bank and cash in the bank, it's so much easier to kick your competitor's ass because you can move, you can bob, you can weave because you got cash and you're flush. And cash is king in business. I don't care what anybody tells you. Cash flow, absolutely. But cash flow, it means money in and money out. When you just got it rolling in, it's cash. Okay. When it's rolling back out again, it's cash flow. Okay. So try and keep cash. That's if that answers your question. Yeah. That was one of my biggest failures, but at the same time, that was one of the businesses that failed miserably, along the way.
Yeah, no, that was great. I appreciate you sharing that. You got to look at things like it, and just say if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't be where you are today, right? If you just if everything was easy, everybody would do it. So I want to talk about your sign in the background. Hot pink. You're in the plumbing industry, typically male-dominated area. I want to talk a lot about One Tom because I think it's just you guys have just burst onto the scene. You're a bolt-on plumbing solution for restoration companies. I believe that you only work with restoration companies. It's a franchise. I have my own thoughts about franchises, some do's and don'ts as far as when the marketing goes. We've marketed for a few of the bigger guys out there. I see a lot of the problems that are out there, but in talking to you, I think just based off your experience and how you're building One Tom, you've already kind of nipped a lot of that crap in the bud. And I want to hear a little bit about that story, but I really want to hear about the hot pink and the logo because I come from a construction background. I pride myself in being really good at branding. I think it's genius now that you've told me about it, but I want to share it with the audience a little bit about how that came to be and what the heck it means.
Yeah, no worries. One Tom Plumber, the name is the phone number is our slogan. And what happened was I really went out and bought, I paid $425,000 for a franchise that had two franchises, one in Texas and it was 1866 Plumber, and got it back and it was just in shambles, absolutely in shambles. So basically at the end of the day, I shut it down and all I had left was a phone number. And I was getting to the end of the TPA part And one thing I saw Roto-Rooter doing was just getting a shit ton of commercial work. So I realized that I could take that phone number, rebrand it, and use it to get into the commercial space. And I'll give you the overview just quickly. Was like we had two salespeople that were going out selling Icon Property Rescue, and it was a hard sell. I mean, they were both, maybe doing $1 million, give or take, and they were great salespeople. They're still with me. Leah's been here 11 years. Clay's been with me 6 years. And realized pretty quickly that if you went in and only did emergency and service plumbing, you can get into all these commercial accounts, the Cushman Wakefields of the world, CBR Richard Ellis's, all these people we've been struggling taking to football games, bringing in candy, doing all this stuff for. Well, they need plumbing every single day. Okay. So basically what we did is we created the water damage business in plumbing. And we went live, like I said, we went live January 1st, 2019. And that was our business model. And we dual branded. We have Icon on one side and whatever restoration company it is on the other side. And we walk in there and we sell plumbing. Now, once you get the plumbing, the reason most people don't have plumbing salespeople is because if they get your business, they get to keep your business. As long as you do a good job, people aren't shopping plumbers because they know they've got a plumber that's going to take care of them. And finding a good plumber is way harder, honestly, than finding a great restoration company. So once we got their business and we knew we had their business, then we switched it over and we just sold Icon the whole time. Well, before we knew it, we were killing it on the commercial restoration business. And we literally ended all TPAs that day, and said, no more TPAs, no more large loss rebuild. Not saying that large loss rebuild is bad. I know a lot of people making money at it. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. Okay. And then we went hard with the digital marketing piece, not just for residential, but we started digitally marketing the commercial space. Okay. And the reason that we did that was because the guys that own the 4 families and the 6 families, they might have 300 units, but nobody's out soliciting to them because everybody wants the big fish, the Cushmans of the world. So those people are still Googling plumbing companies. They're still Googling restoration businesses. And so when we bring that in under the one Tom Plumber business model, we'd assign them to our restoration salespeople, and we just built it organically that way. So we basically had a two-headed monster where we were going after them from a SEO standpoint and the relationship standpoint. And the thing was, though, it grew so fast and the profit grew so fast that we replicated it in Columbus because we wanted to see if it was even franchisable. Okay. I've never been on that side. Like I said, I own the 1-800-PACK-OUT franchises, but I've never been a franchisor. And sure enough, man, it was just picking up. We Teasdale Fenton in Cincinnati, we partnered up with them in Columbus, and we're killing it. And so we went to market. It'll be it was 3 years in April of March of this year, and we're coming up on our 4th anniversary. And we've got 82 franchises signed, almost 50 opened in the United States, and we just signed our first one in Canada. And we've got 3 more scheduled to sign in Canada. And we've got a variety of people. We've got 8 different brands. We've got ServPro that have 1-800 One Tom Plumbers. We've got Pure Cleans. We've got 911. Like I said, we got pretty much Water Out. All these different brands that have now bolted on. And what a bolt-on franchise is, and I think I need to tell people this because a lot of people don't know this, but Love's and McDonald's. Think about driving down the road and you see Love's and you need gas. You pull in. Well, while you're getting gas, you're going to go get some fries and a Coke and maybe a Big Mac. Okay. And then other times you're driving down the road and you're starving and you see those golden arches and you pull in. Well, while you're in there getting the Big Mac, you're going to, even if you're halfway full, you're going to go ahead and fill your car up. It's no different. It's 2 different companies, different colors, different employees in the same building, sharing the same customer. And we were the first to market doing that. We did it here, and then we brought people in. And like I said, and keep in mind too, that's with a 42% turn down rate. we're really particular about who we bring on. They have to have our same philosophies. They have to be good networkers. They have to want to scale, and they have to be very systems driven. Okay, because and keep in mind too, Tom Plumber, we always say this, is not a plumbing company. It's a sales organization. It's a sales system that happens to do plumbing. Okay. Now, one of the things that's good, and this is my shameless plug here, we found out that the plumbing side was actually making more from a percentage standpoint, profit wise, than the restoration side. So obviously, guess what we wanted to do? We wanted to grow. And now I personally own 4 of the franchises. So, we've grown into different markets, but we do it with, and we only sell to restoration companies. And that's our business model, because we want that brotherhood. And you have to be a good networker. You have to want to help other restoration companies around the country and network and help each other grow. And it goes back to our original theme, culture. We've turned down $30 million companies because it didn't feel like they were a good culture fit for what we were trying to build. And we brought on $3 million companies in place of them because we felt like they wanted to grow. They had the right fit. They had the ambition. They were systems driven, and they wanted to be more than what they were.
All right, we're back. We had a little technical difficulty there. I know you guys probably didn't notice the pause, but we were paused for about 3.5 hours. And I really applaud Rocky for sticking with me here as I figured out my new setup in here. I talk about using the 80-20, the 80%. I probably need to get some better IT guys to fix this, i.e. take myself out of this. We're talking about One Tom and how you grew and what makes you guys good. And I think you kind of had a whole bunch of questions about it because, in my experience marketing for franchises, I see a lot of these challenges. One of the big ones I see when it comes to a franchise, by the way, that bolt-on franchise is genius. I think that's an incredible way to manage it. So anybody out there listening and you're thinking about going that route, you got to check out One Tom. I threw their URL up at the bottom of this if you're watching this on YouTube. One of the things that I see that's a huge problem with all the franchisors that we deal with is they are just burning and turning. They are selling this magic bullet to people that have zero experience in the restoration world. You've got an mechanical engineer or a civil engineer that retired early and they've got a couple bucks laying around and they want to spend $300,000 in buying into this franchise, and they're sold this whole beautiful thing that you're going to get in, turn the keys on, and this is going to be a machine, not understanding that forget everything else you need, but just from a marketing perspective, they have no idea that you've got to spend X amount of dollars every single month forever on ads, on SEO, on a website, on a Google business profile presence, be active on social media. They're just completely overwhelmed. And I see it time and time again with the bigger franchises. And one of the reasons that, I think that I'm drawn to what you're doing, and I think probably why you're growing so fast, because you have that turn down rate, which is unheard of. Not many people want to turn down money and turn down business and grow. You, again, as a testament to your systems, growing the right way, grow slow and grow for profit. I think we're going to put you there. So I want to speak a little bit up to the people out there that are considering maybe getting into the franchise world, and what we could talk about some of the common problems and maybe how One Tom is kind of resetting that idea of how you're going to approach this.
Yeah. And we get a lot of people are like, hey, well, I'm here. It probably won't work for me. We've got franchises. We're getting ready to open up Hawaii in 2 weeks. We call it the island of the island. We got Long Island. We got Chicago. We got 3 in Washington State. We got 2 in Oklahoma. We got 5 in Texas, 7 in Florida, 3 in South Carolina. We got 4 in Ohio. So we're all over the place. The thing that we did was when I bought the 1-800 Pack Out franchises, and I love Bart. He's the owner. Was a great guy, but there were so many things I didn't get. Support was one of them, and digital marketing. So when we were building this, we've created our own digital marketing. We do all of our own digital marketing in-house. Okay. Now, not on the restoration side. Okay. You still have to rotate that over. It's still an important piece you have to do. It is so key. And what Ben here does and people like him are key to your restoration business. But we wanted to control that product. And keep in mind, 60% of our business that we send out to our franchisees, we grow from our digital footprint and send it out there. Okay. 40% comes from relationships from your salespeople. as a brand. So, but I tried to fix everything I didn't get, including support. And you can talk to any of our franchisees. If you're interested, let us know. We'll send you a list of our entire franchisee list, and you can call any of them. We want you to have as much information as possible. A couple of things you need to know is, I don't want this to sound salesman-y, but we've got 3 of our franchisees that already had plumbing companies that they've turned into one plumber. Richmond, Virginia, Jamie, Rick up in Cleveland, and Tri-Cities, Washington, already had plumbing companies that they're like, look, this is hard, man. I got to have a system. I got to have this, that have turned it in, and they weren't getting water damage. And the whole purpose we did this originally was so that we could funnel commercial water damage to our restoration companies, okay, and our franchisees. So it was monumentally important that we crossed those T's and dotted those I's as we grew. And we'll just, if you're interested at all, just contact us. Ask us to send a list of our franchisees. We'll send them to you. And if it's not your cup of tea, that's okay, because both of us have to be 110% in. If we don't feel 110% excited about you, and you don't feel 110% excited about us, this isn't going to work, because our fortunes are tied in together, and we do this as a team, okay? And just because you got $50,000 to buy a franchise doesn't mean that we're a great fit for you, or vice versa. It's all about fit at the end of the day, and we want like-minded people who have that hustle culture, who have that systems culture, who take care of their employees and want to grow and want to be better at what they do. So that's really what we're looking for. You got to be financially sound also, but honestly, that's the second thing we look at. So if you want to get into the commercial space, it's one Tom Plumber. There's nothing better. And here's the thing too. If you go through the journey and you qualify, we'll bring you in for what we call a discovery day. We let you kick the tires. It's not scripted. You talk to our plumbers, this, that, and the other. And we always say that if you're not flying home and you could start and build your own plumbing company after coming here and taking a look at us, you didn't ask enough questions. Okay. We don't hide anything. We don't script anything. We give you the information you need to make a good decision. And if it's for you, we'll know on our side by the time you get here, trust me. But if it's for you, great, let's move it forward. If it's not, that's okay. Go start your own plumbing company. There's plenty of business for great people. We're good with that. So, and we found that when we take that philosophy, we've been able to bring on some really, really great people who want to make their lives better, the restoration lives better, and everybody else that's part of the One Tom Plumber family. So it's been awesome. It's been such a fun journey. We take vacations together now with some of we had 20 of our franchises at Lake Norris, Tennessee, for 4 days. Making fun of each other and jumping off cliffs. So it's been a lot of fun, but more importantly, it's about not being so dependent on the TPAs and making the phone ring. But again, I want to tell you, this is my hammer close. If you would, we've got 12 of our franchisees that now have a second One Tom Plumber. We have one that just opened up his 4th location, brick and mortar. I'm talking about location in of all places, Asheville, North Carolina. So, we've got 11 franchisees with 2 locations, and this is within 3.5 years. So they wouldn't be opening up more locations if it wasn't a good deal. So if you're interested, give us a holler. If you're not, call me. I still love talking restoration. I can help you build and scale. I love doing that stuff. Won't cost you anything, man. I just love helping my restoration brothers and sisters nowadays. Yeah, sorry, ladies.
Yeah, I guess you can put it. I do that all the time, the brothers and sisters thing, and I mix it up, and I always have to be careful to do that. But hey, listen, you guys vacation together, talk about culture. And a lot of the things, and we've spoke before, and I've learned a lot about all the ins and outs of how you got to that brand, which is super interesting. Shout out to the guy in the back of the room at your branding agency when he told you it was a great idea for the phone number when we get out there. The guy that just yelled it out in the back. I got to give that guy a plug because you know what, he's probably got some dirty looks when he spoke up when he wasn't supposed to. I was like the janitor walking by and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think that what you're doing is great. I think what you're doing is innovative. I think what you're doing is, in a way, and whether you realize this or not, is you really have a giver's gain mentality. Just the fact that you're coming on and offering your time and your expertise to people that may be struggling. I did share a link. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, to learn more about the One Tom Plumbing franchise, 1tpfranchise.com. It's scrolling on the bottom. Take a look at it. If you guys want, you can message me after this episode, and if Rocky's okay with it, I'll share his email and you can reach out to him directly. But, it is refreshing. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you be the kickoff episode is that you really talk the talk and walk the walk. Everything that you're doing, you can see the fruits of your labor, I guess, in a sense, from the systems to your execution. Culture is a big thing, the giver's gain mentality, and it's leading you down this path to success. And I'm sure it's only going to get bigger. Rocky, I really appreciate your time today. If there's any other way that they can get in touch with you, if you want to learn more about the One Tom Plumbing, if you want to, learn just more about if this might be a right fit for your restoration business, is there any other way to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, just Rocky at onetom.com. You can pass out my cell phone if you want. I don't care. I just, I love talking to people. I love being part of something. I love building something. And anytime like I said, I always had a mentor. If I can help someone along the way, I want to give it back. I want to pay it forward, so to speak. And or if you just want to talk about hunting, that's what Ben and I spent a good hour and a half talking about hunting before the podcast. So we'll talk to you about hunting all day long too. But
if anybody wants to hear a hunting episode, comment on this and we will make it happen, because there's one of the things, and it stinks because of what I do here, is we're really restoration orientated. And I try to really get in the philosophy of entrepreneurship because I'm in the middle of that journey myself, whether it's my restoration of my internet marketing company or my construction company. If there's any topics anybody's struggling with, I'm an open book. I'm the same way. You have my number, you have contact info. You can engage with me on social media. A lot of times it's my team posting, but I do see the messages if anybody has any issues or they want to learn anything at all.
Well, Ben, as usual, man, it's been a blast, dude. Thanks, and high praise. Give me the kickoff. I should be your last guy, man. I'm just a humble servant of the restoration industry. All right,
I love it,
Appreciate
and I'm happy to have you on. Hopefully, we can get you on for some more episodes and help. I got a really cool idea here where we're going to identify some major problems, and we're going to take a deep dive into it. And I think you'd be a great fit for that type of roundtable. Rocky, I appreciate your time as usual. Get out there, get One Tom if you're interested in One Tom Plumbing. We're learning more about it, or you want to hear this episode, follow us on social media. Rocky, we'll see you next time, man.
Okay, my friend. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Yes, sir. That was a great episode. I want to shout out Rocky from One Tom for coming on and taking his time to talk to you guys out there. If you had any value from this episode or any of our past episodes, I implore you to like, subscribe, and share. We're streaming on all platforms. We're even going live on YouTube and LinkedIn a lot of times. If you're struggling with anything when it comes to marketing, I want to tell you to go ahead and get my book on Amazon. It's very easy. The No BS or Bullshit Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. I just dropped the price down to like $5. There's no reason that you can't get on Amazon and buy that. But if you don't got $5, if you're the guy shaking your cup at the stop sign that Rocky talked about, shoot me an email, ben.r@Ironclad Restoration Marketing, and I'll get one of those books in the mail absolutely free of charge. Hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this episode. Really excited about this season of the Restoration Rundown podcast. Tune in next time, and we'll talk to you then.